After Thanksgiving, my mom began to decorate our house with Christmas. The lights and the tree going up. We anticipate Christmas more than ever this year as a time of joy, renewal, hope, and light. At the same time with this anticipation, there was also sadness. We saw on the TV day by day the cases rising and records being broken. Bad records of hospitalization and deaths as this pandemic rages on. 2020 has been a year of change. This change has affected so many lives across the globe, and especially in our country. With the next holidays approaching fast, this speech will serve to paint a picture and propose what might be in store these upcoming holidays. First, we'll look at the data and the guidelines proposed by the health officials in the previous holiday of Thanksgiving. Then we'll assess the additional danger that winter brings us with the flu. Finally, we will propose how might all of these factors contribute to the celebration of holidays, the remaining ones at the last strand of the year. I'd like to start a demonstration. We have here 15 milliliters water, it's representing a person on this transit bus. And now, the sick and infected person walks onto the bus. As we can see, when they come in contact, there's a dramatic color change, a dramatic risk now introduced to that public scene. Now we have the airport where that transit bus is going to arrive, the 120 people inside of it. As the passengers get off, they introduce that risk to that whole group. As you can see here, now the whole airport is at the possibility of risk. Now we have our family that's been anticipating the holidays, and they're going to pick up their two relatives. Unknown to them, they've been contacted, this infected passengers. As they arrive with the two relatives, you can see that now there's that possibility and that tint, that risk of the infection. Amidst all of this, in anticipation of it for the upcoming holidays, and at the time Thanksgiving, the CDC expanded on their 14-day quarantine. For now, it's a before and after period from periods of time where you might come into contact with relatives or other residents outside of your home for the holidays and for gatherings, as well as for expansion on the mask and social distancing protocols that were introduced earlier this year in March. Along with this, the STAT article reported by the TSA, the Transportation Security Agency, reported 1 million airline travelers up to Thanksgiving. This is alarmingly high, as with the high amount of travel, which hasn't been seen since March, since this pandemic started, there's an increased chance of, again, a large group of people being infected unknowingly and within this space outwards to other families, as you can see with the new tinted family. With all of this in mind, the virologist Ian McKay, the New York Times, proposed the Swiss cheese model, where we have personal responsibilities and shared responsibilities arranged in layers, where the personal responsibilities of masks and social distancing have these layers with holes, which lead to the shared responsibilities of funding and more tests for a gradual decrease in the infection rate of the virus. In winter, we have these holidays at the end of the year. And in winter, we also know that there's a flu pandemic. The CDC has found that the COVID virus, as well as the flu virus, have similar symptoms, and you can be tested for both. These symptoms include respiratory problems and pains. In addition, Rosie Assad, the PhD in epidemiology, supports the idea that the infection rates increase as the overcrowding events happen, which are common during the holidays. The virus membrane in the winter hardens, making it more difficult to get rid of. and the low temperature and humidity also add to the difficulty found when trying to get rid of the virus and prevent its spread. The cold and the low humidity transform these respiratory viral droplets into an aerosol that lingers longer in the air, with an increased chance of infecting those around. The vitamin D deficiency also experienced in winter, wherein vitamin D is less because the less activities outside would also contribute to a larger spread, for there's less immunization support. What all this means for the holidays? Well, with the CDC guidelines in place, it could be predicted that there'd be a lessening of contact between people and more movement towards a virtual holiday or one with less contact between other people. Our family will be participating in Christmas this fashion, as we will be dropping off gifts on the porches of our relatives without any contact, just like the CDC proposes. From the TSA finding of the 1 million travelers during Thanksgiving, it could be predicted once again for these set of holidays upcoming at the end of the year, there'll be a large intake of travelers through airports and other public spaces. All again, unknowingly to them, and logically, would there be an increase in the transmission rate of the virus as these larger groups travel out and disperse through families, sadly increasing the risk of their infection as well. From Rossi's findings, we could find that there's a similarity between the virus and the flu, and they're strengthening in the winter, which is crucial to the prediction of there would be more seriousness. As with the flu, we have the vaccines. As with COVID, we have similar symptoms. I could be predicted that with all this, there'd be an increase of stress during the holidays, as well as for a more prepared society as a whole. It's been a challenging year for all of us, but still we could find the balance between normalcy and these safety guidelines because of the pandemic. According to Michelle Brenner, a psychologist, the holidays are rituals in which the bonds between families and the connections with others are strengthened. Especially nowadays with this pandemic, we need a light at the end of the tunnel to look at. And in the recent reportings in the news, that light of the tunnel could be at the end of this year, as the reportings show 400 plus vaccine shipments already being made out across the country to those who are most need. The holidays, again, presents us as a time for joy, renewal, and hope. While the pandemic has changed how we may celebrate these holidays, it has also prompted us with the same factor that there's a light at the end of this tunnel. Thank you.